So, Jerry, why are we here?
Honestly, Mike, I'm not sure. We've been fighting this for a long time. Our marketing team has said that we need to have a bigger presence on social media, um, talking about what's relevant in people's lives on an ongoing basis. And so we fought it long enough.
Yeah.
We're here. We have our beautiful podcast room, and we're going to give it a shot, see how it turns out.
Great. Let's go.
All right.
Alliance Financial Group is committed to putting out the most relevant financial content in a timely manner. If you're interested in joining the financial services industry, give our team a call. We love adding good, talented people to our team at all times of the year. Click the link in our description to apply. Now back to the podcast.
So I suppose from the standpoint of looking at my entrepreneurial trip, I started in this business in 1984, right out of college. And that it was a good business from the standpoint that I didn't want to go to law school. I could talk to people, and it made sense to want to do insurance. I always liked insurance, even as a kid, which is kind of weird, but I did like
It's
it.
very weird.
It is weird, right? My State Farm agent sent me juicy fruit every year on my birthday, and I thought that was pretty cool. I guess you can't send gum in the mail anymore, but it was pretty fun. I learned early on that I could control my future, and I always wanted to be able to control my income. I worked for an agency in Cleveland when I was 22, and they just told me, come to work, and if you go do the things we tell you to do, which is make a lot of phone calls. Back then, keep in mind, we didn't have computers, essentially. There was no cell phones. There were desk phones. There were no...
That rotary dial?
Yeah, the rotary dial phone. I started on that. And it was just a function of making phone calls in a zip code. And you went to go see people because there was no computer to actually have a meeting on. So you had to go to people's offices. So I learned entrepreneurship from going to see people that ran their own businesses, whether they were HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning companies, steel manufacturers, cement people, bricklayers. I just learned how owning your own business made a lot of sense. So I was in that agency for 18 years, and I helped build that agency that was owned by another person, but I very much helped him run it and helped recruit all the people there and ran my own business within the structure of that organization. So between 22 and 40, ran that business successfully. Then for many people that remember 9/11, 9/11 changed the world. 9/11 changed my world. 9/11 changed the world of where I wanted to actually live the rest of my life. I didn't want to live in Cleveland anymore. There's nothing wrong with Cleveland. I just didn't want to live in the environment of being cold. So we had a vacation home on Marco and decided, hey, we could go live on Marco in our vacation home and sell everything that we had in Cleveland. And there was an organization in Fort Myers, Alliance Financial Group, that I went to go visit, Doug Gribben and Bill Traum, two owners of that agency, and they said, hey, if you want to join our agency, you're welcome to. So I came down here in 2002, worked the business in 2002 until I met Jerry in 2007, which really
Best
changed.
year of your life.
Yeah, best year.
Best year of your life.
Right behind the marriage and the kids, yes. And it was fantastic. So you look at it from the standpoint of we did a lot of work together. We did a lot of joint work that worked out well. We recruited together. You started your family down here, and in 2014 we took over the agency. So I've always acted as an entrepreneur. I believe from the time I was 22 to the time I was in 2014 when we bought it. But 2014 really became a true entrepreneur, was owning the business, paying the salaries, working with the people, and that was awesome. And it was a great thing. And in our industry, in our business, everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody has to run their own piece now as general agents or owners of the organization, or however you want to call it. You can title a general agent, doesn't matter. You're an owner, you're a CEO. You have to be able to take control of a lot of situations because people's lives are in your hands. And it's worked out phenomenally for the last 11 years. It's grown well for us, and it's control, and it's control for us. It's control for our clients, and it's control for the people that work for us. It's been phenomenal. That's
Good job.
that journey.
Good job.
Thanks.
for your first time on camera and then a microphone.
It's not an easy thing for me to
No.
do. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, my journey was almost by accident. So, I have a theater film background and started working as a temp at a Wall Street firm in Manhattan while I was trying to make it in theater, doing off-Broadway shows and the film crews where you're doing overnight shooting and all those different things. So in order to actually make money, because as a struggling artist in New York, it's very difficult to make money, I got a job temping at ING. And that was
What was ING?
ING Barron's is a wealth management firm
Okay.
in Manhattan. So I was a temp there. And, shortly thereafter, the team that I was with ended up going to Legg Mason, which was downtown Lower Manhattan. And they asked if I would come with them. And what they said is, but we want to hire you on full time. We'll still let you do the theater. And so I was doing, Monday night was a dark night on Broadway. And so we were doing Tuesday, Wednesday matinees, Thursday night, Friday night, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and then doing my Wall Street temp job at the same time. You mentioned 9/11. Like I was in Tower 1 when the planes hit. And so 9/11 changed everything for me too. Witnessing all that and being there and walking towards ground zero every single day, for months and months after that. But at that point in time, I sort of realized that the Wall Street stuff was going to provide the lifestyle that I wanted. At least I thought at that time. So the team of people that I was working with, I realized very quickly that there was far more to wealth creation than just buying individual securities, right? That most of the wealthy people we talked to were business owners. They had their own companies. They were creating real estate empires, you name it, and they were doing things outside of just the pure stock market world. And then some things happened with the team that I was with, and I realized that I no longer wanted to work for somebody. And I had made a decision back in 2004 that I would never work for somebody again, that I always wanted to be in control of everything that I did, my time, my ability to earn an income, the things that I could control. I knew over time would provide a far greater lifestyle than what it would be working for somebody. And I was fortunate enough to be recruited to one of our sister firms up in New Jersey, which taught me a lot more about wealth creation. It was a missing piece. It was like all the things that I knew were out there, but I didn't know were out there, and just sensed that there was more to creating wealth than just hoping the markets go up or down. Like as we've seen now,
Right,
like,
yeah,
the volatility is
exactly.
happening nowadays. So was part of that firm for a couple of years, and then had the opportunity, like you said, 2007, the best year of your life. Had the opportunity to come down and partner with you and Doug and Bill in this firm to grow and then potentially take over. And it was a handshake agreement. It was kind of a promise, and it's good to be with people that you like inherently trust day in and day out. Where with 4 business owners, a handshake agreement almost 20 years ago stood the test of time. And like that's the way you and I model the business. That's the way you and I run the business. And like our word is our word. And as we're now even looking towards like succession in the future,
Sure.
the people that we're partnering with, it's that same type of transparency. And so like that's true entrepreneurship, knowing that you're growing and building a business, surrounding yourself with great people, but also thinking to the next generation of leaders who are going to take over that business. Similar to like what Doug and Bill were thinking in 2007, when they put this out there as an opportunity. We didn't know what it was going to look like. We just knew we trusted the people that we were working with, and that it would all work out well. And it did. And that's sort of where we are now, is thinking about the next generation of leaders and owners. So entrepreneurship is the way to go. It's difficult though, right? Like not everybody is groomed and wired to be an entrepreneur, where the highs and the lows, and like you said, sometimes you're turning on the coffee pot in the morning and taking out the garbage at night, and you worry about payroll and you worry about all these different things and how it impacts everybody else, because we've got let's say 50 to 60 advisors and 10 to 15 staff that like our success, they're relying on it, and there's a lot of responsibility, a lot of pressure that goes with that. So when you find the right person who's cut out for that, it's a great thing.
I think it's important when you look at the entrepreneurship that we've learned, it's more about just the job. I think a lot of people think entrepreneurship is just doing the job more. And it's not just doing the job more, it's doing the job outside of just the job. It's about vision. It's thinking much bigger
Yeah.
about where it can go in the future rather than just what did you do yesterday and have to do more of it today.
Yeah.
Makes
Well,
a big difference.
and you're knowing that every decision you make, you're going to be judged on today, tomorrow, 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road.
Yeah.
Did it work? Did it not work? And most entrepreneurs realize very quickly that a lot of the decisions that they make don't always pan out the way you thought. And so you have to be able to pivot quickly and surround yourself with great people who can help you pivot quickly and then move forward with that next change or whatever the direction is you're going forward. So but it's a fun life. It's a world that allows you to provide like the best possible outcomes for your family and your kids and the people that your team members that you're surrounded with every single day, and the advisors in your firm. It's as our success allows them to be successful in their lives, and you get a lot of satisfaction out of that.
Sure. There's nothing better than watching your people that you've brought into the business be incredibly successful. I remember Doug Gribben used to always talk about he loved to watch the parking lot because he liked to watch how the cars went from old beaters,
Right.
maybe small pickup trucks to I don't want to
The bigger pickup trucks.
the bigger pickup trucks and
Nothing wrong with a pickup truck.
something that they really wanted to have and something they were excited to
Yeah.
own. And it's fun, and it's about houses, it's about trips,
Mhm.
it's about all that. It's not just for the people that were our clients, but it's also even as importantly for the people that work with us.
Yeah.
And that's important and very important for us. And it's a great feeling when they get there.
Well, and that ties into our mission statement too, right? Like our mission to protect and to provide for what you care about most. Everybody cares about different things, but when it's all said and done, like our families, our ability to provide for them, the lifestyle, legacy, protecting all the things that we've built and grow, like there's a significant amount of responsibility that comes from that. And our ability to implement that in our own lives, but then give people the ability to implement that in theirs, which then they can take out to the community and help others around us. Like what we do matters. And it can't be replaced with robo advisors. It can't be replaced with, hey, I'm going to Google search this. The empathy and the ability to listen and really craft a unique, individualized plan for somebody, I just don't think can be done online. And, that direct communication and the ability to have empathy and actively listen to people to really understand who they are and what they're trying to accomplish. Artificial intelligence can't deliver that. And I don't think it ever will be able to deliver that. So we have to make sure that this business continues to grow, and we have to make sure that people are attracted to this opportunity because the opportunity is phenomenal. And we just got to groom people and help mentor them and get them to be the most successful that they can.
Thank you for joining us today. Through our shorts and through our full-length content, we try to put out the most relevant material for our viewers, for potential advisors, for people in the industry, or just anybody with financial interest in general. If anything resonated today that you want more information on, go ahead and click the link below me. Click on Talk to a Financial Professional, and one of our professional advisors will reach out to you and have a one-on-one conversation with your personal situation.
Yeah. Our systems are truly unique from the perspective that we are a protection first company. And protection is everything. It's just, if you drive a car, you have to have brakes. If you don't have brakes, then everything's going to go very bad. You can't go fast. So the protection part of making sure that people have everything organized well, whether it's just their property and casualty, their wills and trusts, their health, their disability, their life insurance, that's so important to be sure that that protection is done orderly and very well and organized, so that now we can move to that next level of, hey, let's look at cash flow. Let's make sure cash flow is right. Let's make sure that the assets and the investments are properly managed to go forward. So it's about a process. It's not about product,
Right?
Because that makes a huge difference. If you know the rules of the game, you can win the game. If you just play the game by whatever you roll, it's very difficult to win the game.
And that whole concept of protecting things. I mean, when I first started in this business, like you said, I didn't have any kids. Now I have 5. My oldest is 17. She's driving. She's doing all these different things. And, you look at your balance sheet and think, okay, well, like we talk about these things in the abstract, like, hey, if at some point in time you have a kid and they're driving a car, or, someone slips at your house on, and they hit their head on the pool deck, like all these types of silly things we talk about that, could potentially lead to lawsuits. And like, we have to make sure that balance sheet is protected. Well, 15 years ago, that was an abstract thing in my life. Now, with 2 teenage daughters that are driving, a third on her way to driving, kids over our house all the time, stuff can happen. And it's something as simple as like, hey, just make sure that the balance sheet is protected, and call your property and casualty advisor just to get that $5 million umbrella policy. Like, we don't sell them, but I know that that's probably the best $900 a year that I spend, because I know that my balance sheet is protected. And if something happens to somebody else, their family can be made whole too. So, but that's not about stocks, right? Like when I was in my Wall Street job, that's all we talked about. We never talked about getting your wills and trusts done. And we never talked about, making sure that your auto, home, and liability are structured optimally. Like, it was buy, sell stocks and hope that we were right more than we were wrong. And the reality of it is, for every stock transaction, someone is right and someone is wrong, right? Like if I buy something today and it goes up, well, guess what? I was right. But the individual that sold it to me, well, they were wrong. And most of the time, all these people claim to be professionals. So that was one of those things that when I was up in New York, I just realized there had to be more to it. And when we start talking about optimally protecting someone's balance sheet in its entirety, you mentioned cash flow. Well, protecting our cash flow, every financial problem somebody faces, I think, can be directly linked back to improper cash flow. So like, how do we make sure that cash flow is in the right order and protected properly? And, something's going to go wrong. Like inevitably, something will go wrong in the journey of life. And if we're not prepared for it, it could set us back decades. And we spend a lot of time with our clients talking about that because it is critically important. And I think that's one of the areas that our industry has absolutely failed the public in, is making sure that they are optimally protected from all the things that could destroy their wealth.
I agree. I mean, even if you look at it from the standpoint we start talking about entrepreneurship, the work that we do with business owners, because so many business owners have spent so much time. I mean, I'm 63 years old now. It's nice to know that we built something together. And we also know that as we were building it, we had an exit plan, because you used to have to start your exit plans early. You can't say, okay, hey, I went out in December. It just doesn't work that way. So you have to build something that you can transition on to the next. We talked about it. You can talk about it even more. You look at it from the standpoint, because I know you've done quite a bit of planning and you have your certification in that area. You can talk about that. But it's when you transition that business to somebody on the inside, somebody on the outside, or dying while owning it, that last is unfortunately what a lot of people do when the business dies with them. And that's very unfortunate. And that's a big part of the entrepreneurial planning that we do.
Yeah. No, it's true. We talk a lot about mentorship in our industry, and we talk a lot about our own personal mentors. You mentioned Doug and Bill a couple of times. I've mentioned Doug and Bill a couple of times, right? And then the sort of responsibility we have to mentor the next generation of producers. So, like, talk about that from a perspective of how important you feel and what you think mentorship really means in this industry, because you have a unique skill set that I don't have, and that's why 1 + 1 = 3, sometimes even 4 in our relationship, because you have a unique skill set that I don't have. So talk about mentorship and how you see mentorship in the firm, and how you would sort of coach the next generation of advisor.
To me, the mentorship, the part that I like is I like the psychology. I like the psychology of people, why people do the things that they do, why you think the way you think.
See, and I don't understand any of the reasons why people do the things that they do.
And that's what I enjoy. I enjoy that part. I mean, people come to my office and talk to me, and when I talk to them, my mentorship comes from, tell me your story. That's usually where I start every conversation, whether it's with an individual or whether it's with a client. It's asking what the story, and then finding out, okay, what's the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey would say, for the old people that remember Paul Harvey.
I mean, I'm not old, but I remember Paul Harvey. May have been on reruns.
Yeah. And finding out where are you going next. So the mentorship part is really physically sometimes holding hands, but I mean, mentally holding someone's hand from the day they start in this business, because it takes 2 years to get in the business. It takes 5 years to try to figure out what you're doing. And then after that, you really start to see growth. You start to see growth of 5 to 10 years, maybe 10 years in the business, where they're really spectacular at taking people to the next level. But the mentorship never ends. I still meet with Doug Ribbon every week. We sit down and we talk for half hour, 45 minutes about the things that I'm doing, to have a mentor like him to constantly be having somebody that I can talk to, because he's been there and he did transition the business out. And I want to make sure that I'm always talking to people about what's going through your head, what happened today. I can't tell you how many times I've told people in my office at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Jerry, you need to quit.
Just come back on Monday.
See you tomorrow. And that's part of mentorship. Part of mentorship is being sure that they know it's okay to not have a good day every day, that they know that they just have to continually strive to recover and do well, and actually learn the business as emotionally as you can. Because you're the best technicians I've ever met. You're the smartest guy I've ever met, and that technical side really matters in the mentorship part.
Yeah, I think that's where like the 1 + 1 = 3 is. I am really uncomfortable with asking people, hey, tell me about all the things that were happening in your life today, and as far as young agents and stuff like that. And I feel like much more of what I do is, hey, here's what you need to do to be successful. And one of my sort of goals is to actually become a little bit better at the empathy side of it.
You have gotten
right?
much better.
I've tried. I use the phrase like
better.
recovering analytic, but I like to be like, hey, here's what's worked. Don't try to recreate the wheel. Yes, it's gonna stink. I was gonna try to be a little bit more. I almost said something a little bit inappropriate for I guess. Anyway, but I'm like, yeah, it's gonna suck for a long time. And the question is, are you gonna be able to make it past that tipping point? Great book, where everyone else gives up and fails. But here's what you need to do, and you're either doing it or you're not doing it. And if you're not doing it, well, then why? Like, let's try to figure out why you're not doing things. And that's always sort of been my thing. Like, hey, I'm going to show you how to, get to clients, actively listen to what they're trying to say, put together a plan that's going to work, do all how you sell it, how you get all that stuff, and try to drive success that way. And I think that's why the 1 + 1 = 3 very well, is because they know they can go to you, Papa Bear, I always like to say, and get that, hey, here's the tissues, and that's critically important, but it's a skill set I just don't have. And it's always interesting seeing agents react to either one of us in different situations, of like what they're trying to accomplish and who they go to for what. It's kind of a fun thing to sit back and look at.
It certainly makes it easier for everyone in the office to know they're getting full support from us as an organization and as owners of the organization, that they can come to either one of us with whatever issue that they've got, and we make them better. Because you have to deal with your own emotions, because your clients are going to make financial decisions based on emotion. And if you know what that emotion is or where it's coming from, then it's a lot easier to get through that, to get to the, okay, here's the technical side of making that decision. And because you know the why part and what they're trying to accomplish, then the technical gets a lot easier.
Right. So you mentioned it earlier that you're much older.
Much older.
I think when you got into this business, I was 3. When did you get into the business?
84.
84. Okay, so I was 7.
Okay, 7. I feel a lot better now that you were only 7.
Yeah. So
the
I
age
was
of my
7.
the age of my granddaughter. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. So kind of think about that. So as someone is getting into this business, right? A lot of times we're recruiting advisors who may be career changers or just getting their lives started, right? Now, I don't want to say you're on the back end, but you've lived through a lot. You've raised a family in this business. You've done all that stuff. Moved from Cleveland down here with young kids, right? They were, when you moved down here?
Yeah, my Veronica was going into 5th and Alexis was going into 3rd. Okay. So I don't know what those ages are, but young.
It's like major life changes,
yes.
Right? And running a business. How do you balance it all? And can you balance it all?
I don't think there is a such thing as balance. You can't balance. It doesn't work. Because when people talk about balance, they really associate balance with time. I think it has to be a function of satisfaction. Is there satisfaction in balance? And balance is just being able to say, because I know I can't balance it, am I getting the satisfaction on each side of it? So when we moved here, Veronica and Alexis were very much involved in sports. So I made sure I was at the office every morning by 7 so that I could leave the office because I lived on Marco and the office was in Fort Myers. And then the practice was up at soccer practice certainly was at Pine Ridge. So had to leave the office, but I could leave the office at 3, so I could get the work done that I needed to get done in that period, and then get the satisfaction of knowing, hey, I could pick the kids up, make sure I was always taking them to soccer practice, and always making sure that I could take them to basketball practice. If they needed me to coach, I could coach, and that was really important from that standpoint. And then as I worked with newer agents in the business and managed them, being sure that they knew you got to be there early.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, someone was saying, time management's an impossibility because we all have the same amount of time, but priority management.
Yeah.
And, prioritizing the things that are important. And it's like the concept of, okay, so if work-life balance, I think there's a book, Off Balance,
Off
right, that
Balance,
talks
yeah.
about that. And it's like work-life balance is almost an unachievable thing. But if we can be 100% present in work when we're at work and 100% present at home when we're at home, or if we're coaching the kids, 100% present at the sports field and all that other stuff, that then you're actually giving 100% to whatever you're doing at that time. And then prioritizing the things, because again, we all have the same 24 hours. So like, what are you prioritizing in your life? Well, is it work? Is it the family? Is it, coaching the kids? And so trying to find that mindset of, okay, if I'm at work, I'm at work, but if I'm at home, I'm at home. I mean, put the phones away, don't answer the emails. And it's difficult now, especially because our business is like nationwide. I was saying to you before we started this conversation that I just got off a client Zoom call, and the client lives in Hong Kong, 9:30 at night where he was, and it was a 9:30 a.m. meeting for me. And we have clients in California, you have clients all over the country, and so trying to be able to balance a global business with the unique set of with 5 kids. I coached their baseball team, so the 2 boys are playing baseball. The girls are doing 2 different softball teams. We got flag football, we got soccer. I mean, Melissa and I were like scattered all over the places trying to transport these kids to and from the different sports.
Oh yeah,
but
taxi driving.
Yeah, but to be involved in them, it means like at least we have our time is aligned, right? Because I'm participating in that with them, as opposed to and I'm not necessarily the best coach of baseball. There's certain like things that at some point in time they need more professional coaches, but I'm part of it with them. And so our time is spent together in one way, shape, or form. So that definitely helps to be actively involved in the things that the kids are doing. So, you're not just sitting there watching or dropping them off, but you're actually actively participating in it. But it's a tough thing. And if anybody can ever figure that out and solve that puzzle, God bless them.
I think when you use the word participation, it's important because you asked me about mentorship earlier as well. But when you look at mentorship is participating with the people that you're bringing into the business. So we, as owners of this organization, actively participate with the people that we work with. We don't stand in front of them and look at a whiteboard and say, here's how you do the job. We do the job, and we work with them directly. We don't always do joint work with them. We're not with the client every single time, but many times we are.
Right.
And whenever there's something to be done, we'll ask them, hey, bring it back. Let's really work on that together. And I think it's important to the clients that the clients see that. The clients see that, hey, there's a team of people working on this. It goes back to the lab, and we look at it from the standpoint of all the things that could go right, all the things that could go wrong for that client. And when they see something that comes back from our organization, it looks at every piece, and everybody in that organization is participating in making their plan the best it can possibly be right now. Because it's their plan, not ours. Right. It's theirs, and everyone's is different.
Yeah. I say it to people all the time, like, it has to be far more important to you than it is to us. And we have a very high level of obligation to these clients to make sure that what we do for them truly puts them in the optimal spot to be in. And it's like times like this, looking around at the markets and what's happening, and the sort of the chaos and the nervousness that's going on, and the volatility that's happening, and all that. If left to their own devices, clients will oftentimes make the wrong choice. In our job, actually, I think one of the things I have a good ability to do with clients is coach them through things, walk them back off the ledge from sometimes making decisions that aren't necessarily the best in a long term, um, and I think we see that happening now. I mean, if anybody tells you that they know how this is all going to play out, I think they're sort of misleading you. Like, the volatility and which countries are going to come to the table with a great trade deal, and how this is all going to work out in the end with China and retaliatory tariff this and all those different things. Um, which gets back to the whole point of what we do. It's all these projections that people try to make 10, 15 minutes into the future, versus 10, 20, 30 years into the future, they're all going to be wrong anyway. So if we understand that every projection that we make 30 years into the future is wrong, well, then how do we plan for that? And it's getting them into a optimal position strategically across every aspect of their balance sheet. And so if everything that we're doing from our philosophical perspective is optimal, then the output has to be optimal. So as we talk throughout like all these crazy things about volatility and the markets are down 15%, well, the last time the administration in the first term put tariffs on China, the market dropped about 15% as a V-shaped recovery. And then shortly thereafter it was back to all-time highs. Is that going to happen this time? I don't know. No one knows. I hope it does. I hope for our clients it does. But we need to make sure that they're aware. Like, I don't think the market highs back in November, December were the all-time market highs that we're ever going to see going forward.
Right.
But I don't think that was a peak and it's all downhill from here. And historically, that's proven to be true,
Mhm.
right?
So the empathy and ability to say, hey, listen, I can put myself in your position. I can relate to where you are because it's happening to me too. And here's what I'm doing. I think, part of mentorship for advisors and for clients is leading by example and implementing for ourselves all the things that we're asking them to implement in their lives. Because then we actually are united and linked with them in what happens on the upside, happens on the downside. Like, we can truly be walking alongside them, say, look, I've done all of the things I'm asking you to do.
And I'm riding the markets up, I'm riding the markets down. I'm being strategic about where money is going from an accumulation perspective and a distribution perspective. And so, like, we're in this together, as opposed to, well, you're doing that for you, but I'm doing something completely different. And I've seen that in different advisors. I've seen that with clients that they've come in and be like, yeah, I asked my advisor if they were doing the same things that they're recommending that I do. And they're like, no. Like, well, how does that make sense? So, if we actually mentor our advisors and the clients and our own personal balance sheets to be aligned strategically and philosophically, then we actually can like have empathy and we can sit back and say, yeah, like, hey man, I'm in the same spot you're in.
Yeah.
And we'll get through this together. So good.
So thank you for tuning in today. Through our shorts and our podcasts, we present a lot of information. It's really hard to get across to all viewers exactly what we're trying to go through. And everybody's situation is different. If anything resonated with you from today's show or from what you saw, feel free to reach out to us via our website, www.afgfl.com.